Hi guys, this is part 2 of the Mythic Tarot, and I'm not getting to the cards yet. I've just done an introduction to Tarot and where it came from, and I thought it was awesome. I hope you liked it too, and I hope you maintain following me with this series. Excuse me. As I have explained in my last video, Um, the tarot is derived from Roman gods, no, sorry, Greek gods and Roman characters and mythic stories, astrology, and over the years it has been used by great leaders like Alexander the Great, Napoleon, and the pharaohs in Egypt. I hope you liked it. I haven't got any reactions yet because I haven't posted it yet, but I'm going deeper into the cards themselves, why this mythic tarot deck has inspired me to do this. It's basically because the book is awesome and it goes really into the cards. I've never seen such a thick book, and actually not defending but explaining what paganism in the cards mean. They've been brought back to the original meanings. At least that's what these two people, the writer and the lady that did the pictures, according to them, and their name is Juliet and Liz, and they are explaining that the tarot cards come from the Greek gods and the Roman culture and history of the mythic stories, and I'm just going to show you something else. And they have also mentioned psychologists or psychiatrists. They use the cards because you've got two sides. I will get into that in this chapter, and I would just like to show you the cards they actually do use: managers, manageresses, or people that run a group or are like a CEO, and they do evaluation talks, and they use the briefing cards in America and also some in England, and they're just basic pictures like a tanker, um, a cobweb with a spider in it, as busy as a bee, a spiral staircase, and um, like this one. This reminds me of the Eight of Swords. Not seeing what is in front of you, not too much in your head, not willing to see. And then we've got this one in the desert. Sometimes I bring that up in my readings. Being alone, being isolated, and I don't know what this means, but it is. They put these cards on the table. Like I think it's 50 odd cards, and they're called the briefing cards, and they are used in a discussion, um, like your manageress or manager might say, or CEO might say, take a pick, and then you choose the chain, and then he will say, well, what does the chain mean to you? And then you say, oh well, I feel chained up, I feel isolated, things like that. This is networking. You might come up with networking, or you might feel electrified. You might feel a slave or imprisoned. These are just some of the photos that are used in the briefing cards. This is an awesome card as well, stepping stone. I'm just here for a stepping stone. Well, don't say that in an evaluation. You want to go global. You feel one of the crowd, or you feel as if you're at school, or you feel going as if you're going round and round in a merry-go-round, and so on. You feel as if you're in a dance, so in a dream state. And then we've got this one, the mace, the limbreth, banging your head against the wall, dead end. You're one of the sheep, cattle. And these are just sober cards, and those are just not tarot cards, but they are used to breaking the ice, to get yeah, like these people say, you've got the psychological side of it, and you've got the mythic side to it, and so there's plenty of cards, and that's what I'm trying to get my point across. So let's begin with this. I've written it down because I don't want to stutter, and I want to be as natural as I can be. But most of you do know that I've had 2 accidents, whiplash, so that's why I go and that's what irritates me when somebody else does that, and I don't want to do that, so I've written it down. Like I said, the Mythic Tarot, the tarot is somewhat originally, this deck is simplified, and so people like us, the normal people, the general public, so it's more accessible for the general public, and this is done by Juliet and Liz, according to the Greek gods that were so loved by the artists and the writers of the Renaissance. So we don't have to do it behind closed doors anymore, because there's more recognition and love for the tarot and the Lenormand. They are older than the Western belief system, and then the Western system. They are more profound, these cards, and are precise to mythology, the pagan cards, the mythic cards, and modern psychology, which lies closer to the pagan belief, the human way of life and beliefs. Also, they bring the gods, the cultures, the history back into life. So they have tried to blow new life into these cards by simplifying them and more understandable and accessible to the people that would like to learn and to like to understand them. I've got a question. What is a myth? Well, the dictionaries do say that a myth is an untrue story, or a different definition of, a different perspective. So the cards are a myth. So the cards are here to bring a different definition or perspective in issues, and yeah. About the myths, there goes on about Horus and about the gods of the Egyptians and the Greeks, and nobody has actually found bones of Horus or the Sphinx or anybody else like that. So that's what is mystic as well. A myth is mystic, is, yeah, mysterious. That's more like it. Like we know that in the history we have had, I always forget those, the Parthians, or I don't know, they were against the Romans, and that was to do with the, I forgot the nationality, but there was a 3-day war, and the gods came out of the sea, and Neptune came out of the sea in monsters, and it's a beautiful film. It's really a modern film, and I don't know what the film was called anymore, but you know, no archaeologists or scientists have found bones or anything of that sort to relate those stories to that, whether they're true or not. And the word myth can also imply a scheme or a plan, That is what we have to keep in mind. Psychologists use them to explain the cards, to use different behavior, different thinking patterns. Um, like I said when I was showing you these cards, there's about 52 of them, and they might put 10 on the table, or they might put all of them on the table and ask you to choose a card. And if you, let's go back to the cards, if you pick as busy as a bee, then they'll most probably start asking you, why do you pick that card? And then you say, well, I'm as busy as a bee. Everybody is busy. They're working in team connection. So we're a strong family. If you've got the spiral staircase, you might say, well, I'm climbing in a circle and it feels as if I'm going round and round and round, and I'm not actually heading anywhere except upwards or downwards. It might, and then they will start using their skills as a psychologist to go further into the conversation. The cards also have the definition of not a time period, but they also represent the houses in astrology. Like the first house is Aries. Aries, and Aries is the infant, and it is I am. And then Taurus is the second house, the baby, I have. Gemini is the child, I think. Cancer, the adolescence, the teenager. Oh no, the adolescence, that's somewhere between 13 to, I take it from 13 till 18 or something like that. But then you're already in the teen age, I feel, because that's when you discover your feelings and who you are and what your preferences are uh, in life. Leo is the teenager, I will and I must and blah blah blah. And Virgo is the adult, and that's the house analytic, analyze. Libra is marriage, I balance, is also a double sign. Scorpio, sex, I desire. Well, we all know that Scorpio is supposed to be the sexiest sign. Sagittarius, knowledge, and I do agree with that. A lot of Sagittarians are very well learned or very knowledgeable, I see. Capricorn, experience, I youth. Aquarius, idealism, I know. And Pisces, submission, I believe. And there again, when an astrologer talks about houses, then this is the house that I've just named them all, what describes it is, and then you can go into the 8th house, and the 8th house means power and money and blah blah blah. So I'm not really an astrologer, but I do have an interest in astrology. Like, you know, Gemini is the 3rd house, and I think it is also an air element. So there again, you've got the swords. So here you've got the swords, the air element, and that is the Gemini is astrology. And I think is in the tarot cards, communication, wisdom, and thinking and learning. To teach the love is awareness, and learn that love is feeling. And I can go on and on and on and on, but then we lose track of the mythic cards. So yeah, that is what psychologists, they go into it, or psychiatrists as well. They are people of thought. So they could well be a Libra, Aquarian, or a Gemini. It doesn't have to be. You could say it is a myth. Like if you go and back into the cards, and we talk about birth, like the Empress. To me, the Empress is the birth, but yet again, the Empress is in the tarot cards. I'll have to have a look at the cards. Hold on. Ik had het even over de sorry, I was thinking in Dutch. I was talking about the numerology that comes into the tarot cards as well. Like the naught is nothing, the one is the magician, and that's a new beginning. And in some, according to some people, the number one is the infant, and to other people it is a baby. But the infant is just being born, so that's a new beginning as well. And to other people it might be the Empress, but the Empress is also number 3 card in the tarot deck, and that is the house of Gemini, and that is also an air sign, and she also stands for birth and fruition and growth, and she's the Empress. Now, if you go to the death card, that means 13, and that's usually the 13th card, and that's the end. And that isn't in the zodiac signs, but if you go deeper into the zodiac sign, there was a 13th sign, but I think that's because of the Aztecs or the Incas calendar that was changed, so that's why they've made it 12 signs now. That's totally not out of my head. I've seen that somewhere before in a book, because there used to be a 13th sign, and I think that was a snake. I'm not quite sure. But anyway, like I said, everything has been changed over the centuries, and that's why these two ladies have tried to bring this back to the bare essentials and the original pagan meaning. And that's why I said in my last video, nobody's wrong and nobody's right, because everybody interprets the deck. Even if it's their deck, I will interpret it differently, and my Brenda or anybody else might interpret it differently again, and that's why it is so unique. And just listen to your intuition when you go to a reader, or when you listen to a reader, whether this reader resonates with you. We can use the tarot deck in 2 ways. We can use the tarot deck in a historical or a psychological way. If it is historical, it is essentially factual and not and essential. What you call it? Essential, factual. The essence is there, and it's factual because it is history and culture, and that has been noted down through the centuries. And the first way we can read the tarot is through original information and initial intentions of the cards. The second way is open to other issues, and that's external fascination. But now we know that our fascination is more imaginary, the interests of it, and it might be this and it might be that. But we have now more scientific evidence, and we know better that to do a proper reading, we should also take the first reason for reading the cards from the origins and the initial intentions of the cards. So then I'll go back to the history, the culture, and how they had changed, and the meanings of the basics of the cards. So initially the cards were there to predict. They had original meanings, and what the basic meanings were intentioned for. And besides that, the external fascination could be meant by, that's not my words, that's their words, but this is how I translated the external fascination is also the chakras, the energy, the intuition, the spirituality from oneself, listening to one's intuition, and if you've got any more talents to take that into consideration as well. Well, that's basically the basic meaning and explanation that I have and my point of view on the tarot. And now we're going in, the next chapter will be actually about the major arcana, and the major arcana exists out of 21 cards, and that's the Fool, the Magician, the Empress, the Emperor, the High Priestess, the Hierophant, the Lovers, the Chariot, Justice. I'll take you through them, and they're all numbered from 1 to 21, and sometimes I forget the numbers. Then you've got the big arcana and you've got the small arcana, and the big arcana is 21 cards, and the small arcanas are 4 groups, and that's the cups, that's the staves, that's the wands, and the swords, and they have 13 cards each, 1 to 10, and then knave, knight, queen, and king. Sorry, 14. Okay, number 1 is the Fool, and I said that was the infant. Okay, number 1 is the infant. That's the houses. So then you can see, right, infant. The infant hasn't got any knowledge yet. It's totally innocent. It's like a fool. So see how you can relate those aspects with the tarot cards. Then we've got the Magician. That is number 1 usually, and number 1 is, yeah, the Magician. The Empress is, no, the Magician is number 1, yeah. The Fool is naught. The Empress is, let's have a look. I thought she was number 3, but I might be wrong. Sometimes I still get it. No, the Empress is number 2. And she's new beginnings and birth, but I'll go into that and I'll explain what her crown means, and I'll explain to you what the corn means. The Emperor, number 3. Then we've got the High Priestess, that is number 4. Then we've got the Hierophant, and he's the partner to the High Priestess. He's usually the man on the throne sitting in the church. That's number 5. Then we've got the Lovers, that's number 6. Well, that's pretty straightforward. Then we've got the number 7, the Chariot. And some card readers also use these numbers out of the big arcana to do numerology. So if it goes above 10, they will bring it back to a single number. You've got the Justice, and the Justice is number 8. That's power, strength. Temperance, balance, is number 9. The end of a cycle, because it gets close to a 10. And then we've got number 10, that's strength, and in some decks this is number 8. So that is the end of a cycle and a new beginning. The Hierophant, number 11, and that's also an angel number. You can see he's spiritual because he's like a monk, but we'll get back into that again. So the 11 of the angel number, I think that's pretty well thought through from the artist. The Wheel of Fortune, number 12. And the Hanged Man, number 13. Death, number 15. Well, I can't forget that one because that's my birth date. It's quite true. Every year I've got a new beginning. The Devil. Sorry, the Devil is 15. I've got this wrong. So the Death is 14, 15, and you can see on this deck there's no numbers. And usually on a deck you have the numbers. So, you know, the Tower. The Tower is the one that is struck by lightning. And that's number 16. Then we've got the Star, number 17. And then we've got the Moon. And these are the 3 illuminating cards. And I just realized now with this deck that the Star illuminates as well because it's a powerful card. The Sun, the 20th is Judgment. I'm getting tired now because it's the 3rd long video I've made. So this is the World, and that's the number 21, and that's the last card. But in the stones that I have and that you've seen me use, and I call them the Rune Tarot, there's 22, and that's where the full, the naught, and the end because they've made it a stone that has no end and no beginning, or no beginning and no end. And I think that's absolutely a beautiful meaning, and that's why we've got in the tarot stones we have, or tarot runes, we have 22 stones. Okay, well, I will be going deeper into the big arcana. You've seen the big arcana now, and then we'll take it card by card, and also try to figure out the number. Like if you've got 19, it will become a 10. So that is a 1. That will be a new beginning. So I hope you have enjoyed this little video, and I hope to see you soon back for the next one. And I hope you've enjoyed it. Please let me know your reactions down here and what your vision is. And I'm looking forward to hearing your visions or opinions. Take care and have a good evening. Bye bye.